Thank you, Camille. So I want to welcome everybody to today's Connect and Learn on workforce development. And we're very excited today to have our Commissioner of Workforce Development for Connecticut, Kelli Vallieres, with us to share a little bit of her experience and journey and vision for workforce development for the state. As many of you know, Social Venture Partners is actively involved in workforce development. I chair the Governor's Workforce Council, and it's a major strategic focus of our work. And today we're going to have two of our staff members, Ben Stang and Austin Hutchinson, speak about the work that they're doing in healthcare and in IT workforce development. And Hutch is also going to have a panel that includes a student or former student and a teacher and principal and now kind of municipal leader, in education and workforce development. So we're really excited about this discussion today. As we proceed, please feel free to not hold your questions to the end. As we have, each individual speaker, you can feel free to kind of ask questions of that speaker as they kind of conclude their remarks, or put questions in the chat line, and we will track those and be able to ask those. Since we have a fairly small group today, we'd like to make this as interactive as we can, and give you an opportunity to learn all of the exciting things that are going on in the state right now. I guess the only other preamble I would say is that Governor Lamont has workforce development as one of his kind of top priorities. And as a result of that, we, as a state, are making significant progress in workforce development due to Kelli's leadership, among other things. We have over $100 million that we've gotten in the way of federal grants and state monies to be able to support really key job training and career building initiatives in workforce development, which Kelli's office, the Office of Workforce Strategy, is overseeing. And it's a new office. It was just created a couple of years ago, and it really is the central point for coordinating all workforce activities in the state. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Kelli Vallieres.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to spend some time with you this afternoon. I've been asked to kind of give a little bit different of an approach to my remarks to you today and share a little bit about my experiences and background and kind of where that has led me and what it has influenced my vision of workforce development for the state of Connecticut in the future. So, just as everyone here, our experiences shape who we are. And I'm no different than that. So I feel like I'm very representative of probably a very typical background and upbringing that has taken a few twists and turns over the years. But, I'm the first college graduate in my family. So when I was in high school, I didn't get any direction with regards to career or college, and I was just kind of figuring it out on my own. My best friend and I convinced our principal to let both of us graduate or finish school in 3.5 years because we had all of our credits and we were in a good standing on our grades. And so she was going off to college. So we were able to do that, but we had to make the choice, either take classes at a community college or get a full-time job. So she was going off to college and went to take some classes at the community college, and I got a full-time job. And the best thing that happened to me at the end of the summer is I got fired from that job because I had no intention of going to college. And then I realized that I better figure out what I'm going to do pretty quickly. And I enrolled in community college for the fall. And so like, many actually PhD students actually started in community colleges. So I had the community college experience, and then I went on to UConn. I worked my way through school. I loved photography. So I spent the 5 years that I was getting my undergrad working at a family-owned photography store. Managing the store ended up, and then always trained the new people. So right from my first job working in a bakery at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday mornings, I always was the person that would end up training the next people that would come on board. But I never realized that there was actually a career in workforce development until I left my first professional job when I graduated college with a management degree. What does business management degree mean? Who knew? Like, there was little opportunities besides, the college job fairs in the middle of the recession in the 90s. So my first job was at Walmart as a store manager, one of the first Walmarts in New England. So that was quite an experience. But after I had my first son and was coming back from maternity leave, I was asked to work 70 hours a week for the Christmas holiday season, and said, that's not going to work for me. So I left that job. I found another job actually at Mohegan Sun as a training specialist, which I absolutely loved. I worked for them pre-opening and helped hire and train the first 3,000 people. But going through that process of writing, 2-hour training programs and realizing that that's not really having a big impact on people. We don't learn and by somebody telling you something for 2 hours and then going out in the world and, expect them to apply what they've learned. So I was very frustrated in that job. And then I had my second child and realized that I was actually taking home $50 a week after I was paying for childcare. So very similar to many women in the field, and decided that that wasn't going to work for our family either. So I left to spend some time raising my children, and then went back to college because I found an amazing program at UConn that basically called my name. It says, 2-hour training programs don't work. Figure out how adults really learn in a professional setting. And that is how I spent 7 years raising my children, going to school part-time, working as a grad assistant part-time, and learning about how adults actually learn. And it was probably the most fun I've ever had. When I graduated with my PhD, I came home from defending my dissertation, and my husband was waiting for me, all excited, and I burst into tears and sobbed for about a half an hour. And he's like, what is going on here? Like, you're supposed to be really happy. I'm like, I just got fired from the best job I ever had because I finished, and there's nothing, I can't go back. It was really sad. But then I ended up taking on the family business unexpectedly. And as I started working in the family manufacturing company, I realized that everything I had learned in adult experiential learning applied to pretty much everything that we do in life and how we live, because our experiences shape our future and our expectations. And it leads us in directions based on that experience. And if we're not very mindful in our approach to setting goals and planning and really being self-determined and self-regulated, then we kind of end up on a journey through life that as life takes us, there we go. And that's very much the experience, I think, of a lot of people who haven't really had the same opportunities as all of us on this call probably have had in our life, where we've had people to provide us direction and support and help guide us. And so as I was working in my business, I realized that there's no training programs or education for manufacturing. And I started reaching out to my peers in other manufacturing companies, and we all had the same problem. So we started working together, and we formed the Eastern Advanced Manufacturing Alliance. We partnered with our regional workforce board, the Eastern Workforce Investment Board, and our community colleges in the region, which was Three Rivers and Middlesex. And we really started to build out programming that would meet the needs of all of us as manufacturers. And in doing so, we ended up creating the Manufacturing Pipeline Initiative, which is now a national best practice. Joe Courtney even has it on his election campaign ads I saw on TV the other day. So very exciting. But I think the essence of kind of all of my journey and my experiences has really shaped my really strong desire to change the workforce system as it is in place now. And one of the most frustrating things for me, being a industry partner and working in workforce for the state as an industry partner, is I would literally put on about 30,000 miles a year on my car, driving from meeting to meeting to meeting all around the state. I was at one time on like 10 different boards. And there was no level of coordination between any of those conversations. So it was like starting all over again in each entity and organization, which was very frustrating. And then as the governor launched the Governor's Workforce Council, I was invited to co-chair the Governor's Workforce Council, which was really a huge honor for me. In being able to really kind of elevate the regional work that I was doing. And then when this position to codify the Office of Workforce Strategy and really have a central chief workforce officer came around, I decided that this is really where I was meant to be, to make a mark on Connecticut and take my experiences that I had, both successful experiences and experiences that I learned from, and the journey that I was on, and bring that to the state stage and start really understanding policy. So when I think about workforce development, I really think about it starting in kindergarten and going all the way through retirement. And we're really a product of lifelong learning. And the things that we're going to be doing 3 to 5 years from now might not even exist today. So the best skill that we can have is the skill of learning. And it's something that we don't teach our students in school. We don't teach our students how to be good learners. We kind of teach our students how to be good students, right? Do as the teacher tells you to do, turn your homework assignments in on time, study for a test and get good grades. And you can master that system. You can get through school, and out the other end is a product of the school system. And, you know, right now in our society, we've decided that college is really the best way for students to advance over the years, which we're now, I think, starting to really understand that there's a lot of students and a lot of people that get left behind in that college only model. And so we really need to focus on school for all. So when I think about that, I think about student-centered learning, exposing students to the world of work and the world around them as it's connected to their curriculum in elementary school, all the way down there. You know, we can always share with students, you know, what their options are as they get older. And then when we're in middle school, we should start helping students exploring the things that they're passionate about, they're interested in, and how that's connected to the world of work and what they can do with those passions outside of school when they graduate. And we just don't do that with our students these days. We don't get them excited about where their educational path is leading them to. And then when they're in high school, we want them to be able to explore, get opportunities for career and college pathways that are dual credit, that advance the opportunity for them to go to college, but also paying attention to those students who aren't college bound and providing them the opportunity to get those dual credit courses and or industry recognized certifications, so that when they graduate high school, that they can do either go straight to work and then continue their learning from there, or go to college and continue their learning. One of the absurd things that I heard in the last year and a half in my role was that it's really unnecessary for high school students to explore college because they're going to college, or to explore careers because they're going to college. And that just seems so counterintuitive to me, right? You're going to be spending 4 to 5 years of your life and probably $100,000 or more. You should have a good idea of what you want to do when you get there. And it doesn't mean you're going to take a different path when you get there, but it sets you on a trajectory forward. So we need to start thinking about our educational system as, yes, we all need to be educated, but we need to be educated with a purpose as well. So the work that we think about in our school systems is really that is exposure, exploration, engagement throughout the school system, and then being able to make really mindful choices when you get older, understanding that what you do today isn't what you're going to be doing probably in 3 to 5 years. The days of people, getting their first job and working in the same job or for the same company for 40 plus years through retirement just doesn't happen anymore. And the way technology is changing so quickly. I mean, we were talking the other day, like my grandchildren might never drive a car because they might get in a car that drives themselves. So, we have to be thinking about how do we teach our students how to think. And then as we get into dealing with the adult population, is we have so many people in the state of Connecticut that are underserved and unemployed or underemployed. There's over 10,000 students a year that graduate without a post-secondary plan and no opportunities for career advancement, who just kind of philander their way through finding those odd jobs here and there. And then we have over 300,000 people that in Connecticut that do not have a high school diploma. And so their opportunities for jobs and for advancement is so limited because they don't have not only that piece of paper that tells them they've graduated with a high school diploma, but a lot of the experiences that would help them be successful in moving into a career pathway versus what I learned to be called a survival job, right? Just taking those jobs to earn the paycheck they need to pay their bills and just get by. And so when I think about our workforce moving forward in this unprecedented amount of funding that has been applied to workforce development with $70 million in Career Connect, another almost $24 million in the Good Jobs Challenge, $35 million into CT Health Horizons. We've got tech talent money that's going into IT. We really need to start thinking about on-ramps and off-ramps that meet people where they are and bring them to where they want to go. And in order to do this, we really need to break down the silos between the different regions in the state, between the different state agencies, community-based organizations, and our workforce board system. So when we start to pull people together to collaborate, coordinate, and cooperate their efforts across the state to share their best practices, to expand them across the state, we really now can start to add some grease to that fire, right? Is be able to be intentional in what we're doing. So the regional sector partnerships is one of the central components of the workforce strategy for the state. That's where we bring our industry sector partners together in each region to really start talking about what is important to them as an industry and specifically to them as an industry within a region. But then they need a voice up to collaborate across regions. So we have the Connecticut Manufacturers Collaborative, where all of the regional partners can speak on a statewide level. And we can talk about legislation and policy with regards not only to workforce development, but economic development. And have a singular voice to our legislators so that we're not leaving anyone behind. Also working with our workforce boards. Our workforce boards all do amazing work in their regions. And I've come to know that they all have best practices that we needed to share across the state. So the workplace does an amazing healthcare academy that really prepares people for careers in healthcare and making sure they're putting them in the right careers. We have the Manufacturing Pipeline Initiative in Eastern Connecticut that is placed and trained over 2,000 people into entry-level manufacturing careers. We're expanding IT across the state, and Hutch is going to talk about the IT initiatives that we have going on across the state. So really working to collaborate across the regions, and then doing the same with our community college system. So it's an exciting time right now that our 12 independent colleges are now coming together to one system, which is really breaking down those silos. My daughter-in-law has 3 community college associate degrees. She's had to go to 6 different community colleges to get those 3 separate degrees because not one of them would able her to get her degree in the time frame that she wanted to get it in. So really some systemic issues in our community college system that are being addressed by our new president, Terrence Chang, and our new community state president, John Maduka. And then even our state agencies, we're being asked almost on a weekly basis to coordinate efforts across our state agencies to ensure that we're reaching people and bringing people into the Connecticut workforce system in a meaningful way. Career Connect is enabling us to build a statewide intake portal. So anybody interested in any types of careers and training across the state can access one portal and get all the information they need and get connected to all of these opportunities. Our Good Jobs Challenge is allowing our regional sector partnerships to have the administrative support they need to really bring their missions and visions to life, and some programmatic dollars around that. And I really have to appreciate Social Venture Partners and all of you who are part of Social Venture Partners, because everything that I talked about wouldn't really be possible at all without all of your support. As you know, our office is right now 4 people plus the team of Social Venture Partners that have been brought on to support these initiatives and others like in childcare that are really important to addressing the opportunity gap. And it takes, like I said, the collaboration, cooperation, and coordination of all of these entities to get all of this work done and take these programmatic dollars and ensure that we're building a better workforce system that will outlast these dollars. Again, reaching from kindergarten all the way through retirement. So I'll pause there. I know I threw out a lot at you. It's a pretty complex system that's brought to the table, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Kelli? Questions or comments?
Jim.
Yep, Kelli, this is fantastic. And so I'm an SVP partner and I work with a local community-based organization in Norwalk. So we're kind of at the worm's eye view looking up at what you're doing. And our goal, both at a city level and an agency level, is to align with where you're going. Here's 2 questions for you. One is, how do we stay connected with what you're doing, where you're going, so we understand strategically the rate and pace you're going to some kind of outcome? And secondly, how will you measure for success? Do you have a balanced scorecard, or what outcomes are you looking to get and how are you going to measure for them?
Those are both great questions. Thank you, Jim. So staying connected is, through the regional sector partnerships is one place that we're really asking people to be connected. We're also asking people to be connected through our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. So our community-based organizations, all of them have some type of DIEA initiatives that is important to be connected and to participate in our quarterly workforce, Governor's Workforce Council meetings. We are working on improving our levels of communication. Our goal is to eventually be able to do some regular lunch and learns as we're doing here today, and some newsletters. As our team grows, we'll be able to do those initiatives. And Mark and what social venture partners are doing also, can clue you into those places specifically that are meaningful to you in the work that you're doing with your community-based organization. So thank you for that. And then secondly, with regards to outcomes, everything that we're doing is outcome-based. So if you look at the governor's strategic plan, basically I shared with you in a nutshell kind of what that overall plan is. Every one of our initiatives has some level of accountability and outcomes. But with regards to the dollars that are going into the system, is we're collecting about 64 different data points for everybody going through Career Connect. Those same points will be added to our other programs as well. We've created, along with the portal, a data management and reporting system. So everyone who comes into the portal will go into CT Hires, which is the state Department of Labor's portal for collecting individual personal level data. Again, 64 different points from, your demographics to the programs that you're applying for, and completing what certifications you've received, where you're working, how much you're making. All of this will allow us to collect and analyze detailed information about the outcomes of the programs. We will be doing a research level evaluation of all of the programs with the ARPA dollars that have been set forth. I think that, looking at the data collection piece, there's going to be a huge opportunity for us to do research. So the researcher inside of me is just saying, I would love to be able to, really dig in with some hard research questions and then follow these programs for their outcomes. We'll be able to track people in perpetuity after they're finished these programs, or once actually they've enrolled, even if they drop out. Because one of the things that we did in legislation in the 2020 session was pass advanced wage record requirements for employers. So employers, when you employ someone, you basically say, yes, they're employed here, this is how much they make. We're asking for about 20 different points of information from, are they working part-time, full-time, what's their demographic, what SEC code are they working in, all of those things, so that we can understand where they're at and then how their wages grow over the years, and did they stay in the industries that they were trained in. So we're excited about all of the data that we're collecting. We're working closely with our state P20 WIN system, and they've actually determined in collaboration with us some long-term research questions that they're going to be following through.
Thank you.
Other questions for Kelli? Okay, well, why don't we shift gears? Thank you, Kelli, for that great presentation. I learned some things about you that I didn't even know before. Just an amazing, story, and we're so fortunate to have Kelli at the helm. Ben Stang is going to kind of next speak about some of the exciting healthcare initiatives, and Ben is the director of healthcare workforce strategy at Social Venture Partners, but spends considerable amount of time working with Kelli and with the Office of Workforce Strategy on these initiatives. So Ben, why don't you take it off?
Yep. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. So I'm going to pull my screen up, and I can walk through this. So just to set the stage here, no surprise that healthcare and social assistance took the hardest hit during COVID. You really had a combination of an aging workforce to begin with, high workload intensity and burnout, really high patient to provider ratios, and then of course an increased demand for healthcare workers during COVID, which was really just compounded during the height of the crisis. And for the last year, we've hovered around 20,000 open jobs in healthcare and social assistance positions every month. This totally overshadows every other industry. Retail and manufacturing are typically in second place, and they both usually have under 10,000 open jobs. Of the 20,000 in healthcare, nursing is by far and large the most in-demand position. We usually have about 5,000 online postings for registered nurses. This is the most in-demand position in every region of the state. So as tolling as COVID has been on the healthcare workforce, the timing of it with the Office of Workforce Strategy has actually been serendipitous in a way. We're basically at the 18-month mark of OWS going really deep into healthcare, and all of this has been happening as OWS is getting their feet under them. So in April 2021, a healthcare subcommittee was formed that was organized into different working groups, and each group was charged with tackling an issue and identifying the root cause of that issue with possible solutions for it. That subcommittee is made up of different stakeholders from healthcare employers, education, trade associations, nonprofits, et cetera. And SVP's role and the Office of Workforce Strategy's role is really to organize these groups, listen to them, summarize it, and help it inform our strategy. So throughout the end of 2021, the funding picture started to become clear, with Career Connect becoming available for short-term worker training. The Office of Workforce Strategy coordinated a proposal to produce more nurses and social workers. We're now calling that CT Health Horizons, which I'll go over, and OWS submitting an application for the Good Jobs Challenge. So really we spent, 12, 14 months getting organized, generating ideas, planning for the healthcare sector. And the next 3 years are really all about implementing those plans with the dollars that we have available. So at a high level, this is our strategy to improve the healthcare workforce. Quick wins. We know that we can get people into the workforce pipeline through short-term job training, and we know that we have systems in place to overcome barriers that job seekers face. Attainable initiatives are really those things that might take a little bit more time, but in the long run are going to have a longer lasting impact, right? So as Kelli was saying, aligning our workforce development boards to take a statewide approach. We have 5 in the state in different regions, and we're aligning them to work on a statewide level, capitalizing on the transition of the community colleges into CT state and working under one system, building the capacity of our CBOs and training providers that are on the ground, a lot of the work that our SVP partners are doing, and then expanding access for the most in-demand and livable wage jobs in the healthcare field. There are a lot of barriers due to cost of these programs and also the enrollment capacity of them. And then long-term initiatives. So really getting into the systems change type of work that might have different twists and turns, but it's absolutely necessary for us to accomplish our goals. So things like getting the workforce field in healthcare to address it as the healthcare sector, right? Not individual employers or even individual settings saying I'm acute care, I'm long-term care. We want healthcare to tackle this as a field. Building formalized career pathways to get people into the field as early as middle and high school. Healthcare should really be acting as a doorman, not a gatekeeper. This is a system that's in desperate need of workers. And then also working with employers to look within their 4 walls and how they're supporting their current workforce, especially for those entry-level and mid-level professionals. There are a lot of good paying, recession-proof jobs in healthcare, but it's not easy for someone who didn't go directly into a 4-year college to get to those jobs. And then, of course, the regulatory and policy landscape, that really, really matters in healthcare, right? The way that it's paid for, how providers are licensed, what their scope of practice that they can work under. This all touches the healthcare workforce and what we can do. So looking at our 3 projects that we're focusing on in healthcare, we have Career Connect that sort of touches all 3. We have CT Health Horizons that's looking at those attainable initiatives. And then we have regional sector partnerships with which Kelli did a great job explaining. So Career Connect within the healthcare sector, we're looking at 4 projects totaling about $13 million, and we're projecting to train and place 1,700 people into healthcare jobs. CT Health Horizons is the funding opportunity is out right now, but this is for higher education. We're estimating to support around 20 projects. There's $35 million allocated to it. And this is going to support 1,200 nursing and social work students and create 1,000 new seats in these programs. And regional sector partnerships, which are really our long-term systems change to tackle our long-term priorities. So I'll start with Career Connect, and I'm just going to do Career Connect and Health Horizons due to time, and also because Hutch is going to go deep in the regional sector partnerships. So the statewide healthcare project being run under Career Connect is to scale a program called Health Career Academy throughout the state. What Health Career Academy is a program that's been operated by the Workplace, which is a workforce development board in Southwestern Connecticut since 2015. It connects people to training and education for entry-level health and allied health jobs, but there are additional bells and whistles that really make this program run. So to start, when someone comes in and they're looking for a job, they go through an eligibility and intake process where case managers can really meet people where they are. So people will take a CASAS test, so we know their basic reading and math level. If they need contextualized learning, they're referred to that. If they need soft skills, they're referred to that. There's a heavy dose of case management in this program. So each person has a career counselor who makes an individual education and career plan with every job seeker. And then the secret sauce here is an orientation and academy course. We call it a foundation skills workshop, where someone is really exposed to the different career paths in healthcare so that they can go down whatever career route is right for them. So really giving people all the tools that they need to make their career choice. And of course, there are job placement services built within it. So what we're looking to do is have each workforce development board throughout the state operate under the Health Career Academy model. Each workforce development board sort of has their own flavor for healthcare job training programs, and that's okay. We're not trying to blow up what works, but what we do want to do is make sure that every person in Connecticut has access to the same opportunities, and employers throughout the state can expect the same quality candidates. So in preparation of this project, we started with employers first and went to them and asked what careers are most in demand. Those, being certified nursing assistants, medical assistants, sterile processing technicians, medical billing and coding, and a few others. And because this is a statewide model, we're working with the community colleges to be the lead training partner. And what they're doing is they're building cohorts so that they're saving seats for Career Connect participants so that employers can expect, okay, there's a cohort of 20 CNAs at Norwalk Community College. I know I can hire from here. The other thing that we're building in is we're looping in employers before someone enters their occupational training and then after. So after someone goes through the Health Career Academy, they choose what career route they want. Employers are going to interview with them. And if they like that person, provide an intent to hire letter so that someone knows, great, there's a job on the other side of this training for me. And an employer can plan on hiring that person. And then, of course, connecting the employer to that person after they complete the training. So on a geographic level, this is what we've built. We have our workforce development boards as our hubs, our community colleges as our lead training providers, and then employers in those regions as our main employer partners. We've also, through membership organizations, been able to reach almost 30 long-term care organizations to participate in the program. We're expecting for the training to kick off this January. And I'm going to move into CT Health Horizons, and then I'll pass it over to Hutch. So what CT Health Horizons, what we're looking to do here is really address the major bottlenecks in nursing and social work. As I said before, nursing is the most in-demand position, and you might think, well, why don't we just produce more nurses if they're so in demand? We don't have the available seats for these folks. Every year, we have 12,000 students applying to our nursing programs that academically have every right to be in them, but we have less than 3,000 available seats. This is due to a faculty shortage. It's due to bottlenecks in clinical placements. There are a whole host of reasons. In behavioral health, the largest in-demand position are licensed clinical social workers. This requires someone to go on and get a master's degree and 3,000 supervised hours, which a lot of times students are kind of on their own to fend for and get. And what we're looking to do here is really address both nursing and social work with one program. So this year, the legislature passed an act expanding training programs for career and healthcare, which calls for OWS in collaboration with higher education and other agencies to develop an initiative to address the state's healthcare workforce shortage, including behavioral health. So what it's asking OWS to do is expand existing healthcare academic programs to number one, increase enrollment, but then also recruit and retain underserved populations into the healthcare workforce to really make our workforce reflect the communities that they serve. Both nursing and social work, predominantly white, predominantly above 50 years old. So this program is being fiscally managed by Connecticut state colleges and universities. All higher education, nonprofit institutes of higher education are eligible for funding. So private colleges through the Connecticut Conference of Independent Colleges, UConn, and our CSCU system are applying for this program. Basically, there are three strategic areas that we're supporting. Number one being tuition assistance to support low-income minority students to enter nursing and social work programs. We are going to increase the amount of faculty we have to expand seat capacity so that we can train the amount of new students that are coming through the pipeline. And then also support innovative programs to promote partnerships with employers and get their buy-in, right? This project is a 3-year program. It's being funded by the American Rescue Plan. There's no promise that funding is going to continue after the fact. So what we're trying to do is build off of what's been happening organically. Out in the field, Hartford Healthcare has announced a major partnership with Quinnipiac. Yale New Haven Health has done the same thing with 4 different nursing schools. Stanford Health has done the same thing with Norwalk Community College. So we're trying to take that as an opportunity and promote more partnerships with employers in higher education. So schools can come with different programs that come outside of tuition and faculty support if employers or another funding source are willing to chip in 50% of the total project cost. And then I'm going to cut this short because I know Hutch has a lot to talk about, and he's going to talk a lot about the regional sector partnerships. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can go straight to Hutch.
I would suggest that we go straight. I would suggest we go straight to Hutch at this point.
Yep.
Hutch? Thank you, Ben, for that great talk, by the way.
Hello, everyone. I'm Austin Hutchinson. I am Director of IT Workforce Strategy for Social Venture Partners. So I am going to take you through just kind of like a brief overview of what we're doing with our regional sector partnerships. And then I'd like to kind of really connect the dots to show you, can you see the screen? To really show you exactly how we're really impacting the lives of our Connecticut residents. So again, thanks, Ben, for setting the stage. And we know that this far, our 2 regional sector partnerships have really stabilized our workforce strategy here in Connecticut. They've created an organized, self-sustaining system of keeping employers in the lead, informing how we make better decisions on how to build and invest in our emerging workforce. So again, Kelli also kind of took us through the story of the reality of so many of us, thinking that you really have to go to college based on limited options after high school, and it could be completely against, what you can afford, and taking out tons of student loans, thinking that once you get that bachelor's degree, the world will be laid out for you. But, that's when reality kicks in. Interview after interview, rejection after rejection, employers are telling you you don't have enough experience, or you lack the skills. So there's no option for you to return that $1,000 4-year degree to help you pay for a 1-bedroom apartment in most places around the country. So you really have to set aside your dreams and really get to work, no matter what that is. And that's a perfect example of how so many folks end up being underemployed or just lack the skills in demand for employers. So many folks many Connecticut employers, in partnership with the vision of Office of Workforce Strategy, are really changing that. So right now, employers are really relying on the partners who can develop the highest caliber of talent in the shortest amount of time to combat the workforce shortage of skilled IT professionals. So before our regional sector partnerships, our employers, had been inundated with schools reaching out to them about internships. Multiple talent developers are asking them the exact same questions about, their current talent demands. Nonprofits are calling on them to change their hiring practices to, open the access to good jobs. And in return, the internships will produce little return on investment. Talent demands evolve so quickly. Communication gets cloudy with the schools. And then, the new higher turnover burnout is burdensome, and these companies suffer losses because they can't meet their product demands without an equipped workforce. So in Connecticut, we've gotten smart. So I really want to highlight three major initiatives coming out of the state's only two tech regional sector partnerships. So the first point would be how we've partnered with the Business Higher Education Forum. I see Frank on the line, driving the Tech Talent Accelerator with Connecticut colleges and universities. How we've created an easy button for employers to source that skilled talent. And then third, how we're investing in early/potential emerging tech talent. So again, just a brief overview. I really wanted to abbreviate the slide because I'm not a fan of tons of words on the screen, but I didn't want to oversimplify this great work being led by Frank Avery and BHEF and happening through our regional sector partnerships. So since the start of the year, we've worked to convene a group of employers who volunteered to have conversations with us, around their greatest high-tech talent demands. We're not speaking so much about, an entry-level focus, but very specific training that yields higher salaries on the back end. So we've got companies like IBM, Deloitte, Charter Spectrum partnering with the University of Bridgeport, and forming a cybersecurity boot camp for finance and IT. Electric Boat partnering with Mitchell College, focusing on cybersecurity and advanced manufacturing. And we've got Emphasis, Stanley Black & Decker and Accenture, partnered with our local state and community colleges and forming cross-cutting digital skills pathways. So for many of our students benefiting from these partnerships through the Tech Talent Accelerator, they'll be equipped with the high-level skills in demand from top employers. So this is a win for businesses who can directly source their talent, and our students who will not have to face those tons of rejections based on their lack of skills and experience. We're also taking the direction from our employers that are saying, we don't really care who the training providers are, what these programs are, we just want skilled talent. And we want one direct line to source these job seekers. So through the regional sector partnerships, we're organizing a database that tracks the status of current and future training program cohorts, and consistently channeling this data to the talent acquisition teams of our partner employers. So if we look at this little graphic that I created, we're looking at the conversation that happens between employers, the WIP, the Workforce Investment Board, and the talent developers. So the employer is saying, in this case, it's Accenture saying, hey, Capital Workforce Partners, do you have 50 network administrators? That's what we need right now. And the Workforce Investment Board, in this case, Capital Workforce Partners, is already equipped with that information because they stay in close contact with the talent providers. And they're saying, you know what, Accenture, we have 50 folks ready that are job ready for you. Just give us some feedback on how well they perform so we can go back to the talent providers just to really help them revamp their programs based on your need. So again, this is just a great way of how we're creating sustainable practices, making sure that folks are getting employed and businesses are having their skills met. An effort that's so close to my passion is the regional sector partnerships. Close to my passion is the regional sector partnerships interest in engaging potential talent in the early years. So we have many programs around the state that facilitate these types of partnerships. And we're going to highlight P-TECH again, which is an early college high school located in Norwalk and 220 schools around the world that tie industry and public schools together. And upon attending P-TECH, students start taking college level computer science courses as early as their freshman year. That's 14 years old. So students graduate from P-TECH with their high school diploma and their associate's degree. The summer of their junior year, they spend the summer in a paid internship with a partnering company. And in Norwalk's case, that was IBM. And after completing their degree, in completion of the program, they're considered first in line to interview with that company for a full-time role. So I'll spend more time digging into this model with Karen Amaker, who's on the line with us today, the founding principal of P-TECH Norwalk, and also with Kevin Kayo, an alum from P-TECH's first graduating cohort. But first, I'd really like to connect those dots. I want to show you how all these efforts coming out of our regional sector partnerships and the Office of Workforce Strategy are really impacting the lives of real people. So first, let's look at our friend Mariana. Mariana is 23 years old. She is first generation Latinx American, attending college in her family. And she started at PTech at the age of 15. She started taking her first community college courses. Then she was able to graduate with her associate's degree in computer science. And she was able to transfer those credits to the University of St. Joseph. And she was able to start early, saving her a year of tuition, as she was able to make those credit transfers. So while she's been at the University of St. Joseph, she's been able to really benefit from partnership of the Tech Talent Accelerator and how the employers are starting to work with her professors and her department. And she's been able to get a lot more insight on the skills that she'll need with data analytics and business intelligence, as the school has partnered with CGI, who in turn hired her as a business analyst once she earned her bachelor's degree. Now we're going to look at Ashley, who's just 10 years older. She's 33 years old. She's a mom of two. She graduated from Hartford Public Schools. For 8 years, she spent working at a call center as a support for JPX customer service. And guys, I'm making all of this up, so I'm talking about the names of the company. So just don't look up JPX customer service. But we're really showing you how people are really benefiting from these programs. But she knew, as being a call center support, she knew that she needed to afford childcare, or the cost of inflation was just really hard for her family. So she's looking to tech, and she really joined on with the Workforce 4.0 training program offered by Girls with Technology out of Hartford. And they were able to kind of really help her develop her skills. And she was connected to 110, where she was able to access tons of jobs that did not require her to go to college. They used her training as necessary. So she was connected to a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and she was hired on by Accenture as an IT support technician. So her new working hours give her so much more time to be with her children and to help her daughters with their homework. Now, we're also going to look at Nathan. Nathan's even 10 years older. He's 43. Nathan lost his really good job in construction after injuries from a car accident. He knew that he needed to kind of get back out there. He didn't have time to slow down now that he started, becoming a guardian for his younger brother. So he went to the local program in Bristol, Connecticut, which is the Bristol Works training program, and he completed an introductory to computers, Microsoft 365 certification. From there, he was really able to benefit from those Career Connect dollars as he enrolled in Tungus Community College and got that information security certification. From then, he kind of tapped into Capital Workforce Partners, really helping him build his professional skills, a lot of getting him that wraparound support that he needed. And today he is a Workday Security Administrator, working for Travelers Insurance. So no matter what age and where in life our Connecticut residents are, we're changing the system to support them and connect them with good paying and those family sustaining jobs. So today we have the honor and privilege to hear from Karen Amaker, Chief Strategy Officer for the Carver Foundation of Norwalk, and most notably the founding principal of PTech Norwalk, and who under her past leadership established Connecticut's most successful model of early college, industry partnered high school model. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Hutch. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us. So
Thank you.
since being in this role at Social Venture Partners, I've been a huge ambassador for PTech. You can ask anyone. But I'd like to know, what were your early ambitions of creating a school like this, and what was your vision, and who did you set out to serve?
Yeah, just following along with the PTech model, which started about 11 years ago with the founding school in Brooklyn. We took some of the best practices from that starter school, the startup, but we really tailored our goals to meet the needs of Norwalk residents. So as you know, P-TECH schools are public schools, and so there is no admissions criteria to get into the school. But of the many goals, we were really looking at diversifying STEM. And so making sure that we were partnering with industry, IBM, working with in collaboration with Norwalk Community College, and really looking at what was the face of STEM at the time, how do we make that change, and how are we going to really create programs, systems, opportunities for students who we didn't see enrolling in STEM fields, right? Or taking on those STEM careers, or even having access. So it really was about access and opportunity, making sure that we were targeting girls, because we know the percentages of women in STEM fields is ridiculously low. But then we were also looking at the face of STEM in terms of diversifying it and making sure that we were targeting students of color. So we really wanted to set out to make sure that there was access to these types of programs, making sure that early college was attainable for students who didn't necessarily see themselves as college students, but also working with industry to make sure that we were mapping skill development and the skills students needed when they finished high school and with the 2-year degree, so that they can go into jobs that were sitting there ready for them to take. And as you mentioned, they didn't have to necessarily go to a 4-year program unless they wanted to skill up.
So I really, it's really moving how you were saying that, you really set out to, create a program for those who are often looked over in STEM. So, since spending, years at P-TECH and really building and growing the school, you have such a large alumni base now.
Mm-hmm.
What was the impact that you saw in the lives of your graduates?
Yeah. One, I think we saw students who were really excited about enrolling in college while in high school. For some, and for I think some folks felt that it was too early. They don't know what they want to be yet. But I think exposure, opportunity, trying something on helps you to decide whether or not you like something. So for some, it was, I found out by being in P-TECH that I don't want to be a coder, but I do like video game design. So how do I pair those two together? Or I like art and technology. What is the integration there that could happen? So, that was part of what we look to do. Tell me your question again. I just want to make sure I'm hitting the point.
You're answering it. And we were just wondering, like, the impact that you actually saw from those students, who graduated from the program.
We were graduating students on all levels. One, we had a group or a small cohort every year of students who were graduating early. So they were ready to take college courses and they graduated with associate's degree, and then they were able to work at IBM or go to another company. We also had a cohort of students who wanted exposure to college while in high school, while they were figuring out what they wanted to do next. So again, having access to college, especially for students, first gen students or students who had never seen themselves as college students. And then we worked a lot with our traditional high school students, but giving them workforce development or career readiness courses in our workplace learning course, which is a 3-year sequence, so that students were developing necessary skills. So no matter what job they took, even that summer job with the Mayor's Youth Program, the students were far surpassing anyone else in the interview pool because they knew how to present. They knew how to conduct themselves in an interview. They knew that the resume development was critically important. So we were tapping into all of our students and meeting them where they were, but also making sure that the exposure to career readiness was embedded in our curriculum.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, my experience with working with you and working with P-TECH is what you said. Every student doesn't want to be a software engineer, but having that strong foundation in STEM, having that strong foundation in understanding, technology, and having that exposure early will really carry them cross-sector, no matter where they end up.
Yeah.
And we see that our graduates are, in military, they are working, they're in school, some of them are interning, but I would really like to kind of turn the focus now to, one of our first graduates of P-TECH, Kayo, class of 2018, correct?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yes.
And I'd also like to add that this fine gentleman is a brother of mine in the greatest fraternity on earth, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But Kevin,
Yes.
to tell me a bit about, where you are now, share some of your experiences after leaving P-Tech. And afterwards, I'd really like you to touch on how P-Tech gave you that strong STEM foundation in your learning and professional career.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Kevin. As I said, I graduated P-Tech in 2018, where I got both my high school diploma and associate degree in software engineering. I then went on to go to the University of Connecticut, where I'm a dual engineer major in engineering physics and mechanical engineering, while having a minor in statistics. I take pretty much very early master classes as I'm still getting my bachelor's degree, and currently working on my senior design, where I work on a prosthetic leg for scuba diving, and also working at interning at IBM at the moment.
Wow. So
So
just to hear, oh, did you have something to add?
I don't know, keep going.
No, just to hear all of this, we're so proud of you. The fact that, you went through P-Tech, took all that you could take, you're still with IBM, and that's really good to hear that you're still taking on these opportunities, even though, you're about to pursue a master's degree in this stuff. Changing the lives of so many folks, especially in accessibility, where you're building out that prosthetic leg to really help them become just mobile in all activities. So this is, really the caliber of a P-Tech student. And, Kevin, you're the standard of excellence. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
So Karen, I'm sure, again, you're just so proud to have, Kevin representing P-Tech so well today. But,
Yes.
I'll end on this last point. We know that although P-Tech is still one of the top tech talent providers for young people in the state, let's dig into maybe one of P-Tech's most pressing challenges. With all of our related partners on the call today wondering how they can get involved or advocate for a program of such, what can you say?
A few things. One, funding is always an issue. We were very fortunate because we had a partnership with NCC and they made things happen. That was David Levinson. I always sing his praises. And now Cheryl Devonish at NCC. The commitment to making sure that students have access to a quality educational program is critically important. So funding is an ongoing concern and issue. We need to fund schools, not just P-Tech early college schools, but all schools that want to embed some type of career readiness or workforce development strategy. That's critically important, especially for schools in our urban districts, right? The other thing is teacher talent. Having run the school for 8 years and going through the hiring process, one, you want quality teachers. You want teachers who are trained up. You want teachers who understand and can teach computer science. And that is very, very challenging to find those teachers. So, we pulled from some of the art programs in the state because we have people who are going into second and third careers, but they still need the training to teach, right? So they may have the educational background, the professional background, coming in from being an engineer, somewhere in manufacturing. But we need to make sure that we're investing in teacher talent. But that also means looking at the programs, the teacher prep programs, right? And so we have a slew of teachers coming in with, liberal arts degrees, but we need math, science, and a variety of different sciences as well, because we want to teach the engineering courses. We want to be able to offer Project Lead the Way courses or other computer science courses at our schools, and we can't always find the talent to do so. So that impacts programming. So I think those are the two major things that I would speak to. And then lastly, we really need industry at the table. So conversations, ongoing conversations about what are you looking for in your talent pipeline? And then we need to be able to work together collaboratively, both the community organizations, nonprofits that I'm at now, but also K-12 schools. And we're not starting in high school. We need to start really, really early on. Career exposure is critically important, but we need industry at the table. We need community partners at the table along with K-12 to make sure that we are producing the talent that they need, and then they can fulfill those jobs.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And as I was looking, I see Kelly shaking her head the entire time. So a lot of the things you're saying is a reality, and we're really, working on that and working together through the regional sector partnerships, bringing all this together and making, a difference in the lives of, our students, our adults of all ages who really just want to, carry on and support their families. So again, that'll include everyone, our portion connecting the dots in IT workforce strategy. As we really have just highlighted the effects of our regional sector partnerships. So thank you, Kevin and Karen, again for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. I want to thank everybody, who's attended today. And I especially want to thank our speakers, Kelli, Vallieres, Ben Stang, Austin Hutchinson, Karen Amaker, and the students, Kevin. Thank you for participating today. We will be forwarding the slides to people, and the recording will be available on SVP's YouTube channel that will be available later this week. You can find the link on SVP's website. So thank you very much for participating in this Connect and Learn. We hope that you found it informative, and we hope you'll return next month to our next Connect and Learn, which is going to focus on baby bonds. So hope everybody has a great day.